Hey, Frontline fans, welcome back to Comic Frontline and Fans. You're with me, Mike Spider Slayer. And guys, to continue Zenescope Appreciation Week, Mike Spider Slayer just wanted to do a kind of like a video vlog of why I love Zenescope so much and how I got into the actual company to begin with and how I helped kind of spread the word to the fellow Frontline members as well. So basically, I was out of comic books for quite a while. This is going back from I want to say the uh, I want to say about from the year 2001 is when I stopped, and then I started reading again in about 2008, where I started getting consistent again. I read some things in between there, but before I became a heavy collector again. And pretty much what I collected mostly only was Marvel comics. That's all I ever collected. Never read any independents. I think the only independent that I really read was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and that was it. But besides that, it was Marvel, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Spider-Man. And Spider-Man, of course, being the heavy favorite of everything. And when I got back into collecting comics in 2008, and the reason why I got back into comics was because there was the variant cover with Amazing Spider-Man issue that had President Obama on it, and my wife actually pointed it out. And I went to the comic store and I said, I want to get this cover because this is going to be a monumental issue. And I went to the comic book store and I bought that comic, and then I started buying another Amazing Spider-Man comic, and that started the whole trend again of me buying comics and leading all the way up into the point that I am now. So as my comic infatuation grew and I wanted to expand my universe, I saw that there was another book out there, and it was an independent book. And what caught my eye, and I'm not going to lie, is the covers of this title, and it was Grim Fairy Tales. And I remember at the comic shop going, "Oh my God, these covers are gorgeous," you know. And the comic shop owner goes, "Well, the art's not the same on the inside." I'm like, "I don't care. I have to read this," you know. And he's like, "I don't have all the issues here." He's like, "Why don't you read it by trade?" And at this point, they had maybe the first 4 trades out, I think, because they were only on issue 40 or something like that, maybe a little bit further. Not quite sure, maybe 30 or something like that. This was back in 2008. And I read the first trade. And I remember reading that first issue of Little Red Riding Hood. And I just remember that my jaw was dropped. I'm like, how can you do this? How can you, put a fairy tale of Red Riding Hood and put this like horrific twist to it, you know? And then I just kept on reading, and then I read like there was Sleeping Beauty, and there was a few of the other tales in there like Hansel and Gretel, and they were all just. I just remember just flipping the page, and even the story wasn't so in depth, and it was based off of kids' tales. I'm sitting there going, "This is nuts! How they do this?" You know? And then slowly as you read, you get introduced more to Salem Mathers, and you start seeing the universe expand, and you've started seeing this universe grow as time goes on. And I remember there was this one book that came out. They came out with 2 issues, and I don't remember if they came out with any more. But it was called, from Zenescope, it was called Sci-Fi Fantasy. And I remember the first issue, and it was about this guy who did not have a girlfriend, but he made this robot or whatever it was, and he made it love him, and it was just weird. And at the end, it was just completely freaky, and I'm like, dude, I gotta read the next issue of this. And it was supposedly quarterly, but I never seen any more come out of it. So I don't know if they completely stopped it or they thought it was a bad idea. But I just remembered that between these nice looking covers, and you get to choose between about 3 covers, and of course there's always the naughty one. You get to choose your different covers, and the stories that they present was awesome, and it really opened up my world to really independent comics, because I started reading that before I actually read The Walking Dead. And as time goes on and my comic collecting grew, I only had so much money and I could only get so much stuff. So of course I gravitated to the big two, and I left Zenescope for a while. Okay, and I was like, oh, I'll catch up, I'll catch up. And then eventually what happened is I lost track of the Grim Fairy Tales universe, the main title, and I just felt lost that I couldn't jump back on again. So as time goes along, we get to see the universe. I always go to the comic shop, I see these covers, and you see the universe keeps growing. They got the Jungle Book, and they got Neverland, and they have all these other titles. And then one day, something made me pick this up, and I saw Robin Hood. And I said, this just looks pretty badass. Like, how are they going to put a spin on Robin Hood? And I remember that was Patrick Shan's like first real book for Zenescope, at least that's I'm aware of. And he wrote this book, and I remember reading that first issue. I'm like, dude. And then I remember reading the second issue, and I'm like, dude, this is outstanding. And I did reviews on this issue and this series, and I wanted to get people out there. And this is before Jay knew really who I was. He was just a viewer. And Jay saw it, and he's like, oh, I got to pick this up. And he was hooked. And I told Chris, Dark Avenger, when we were on, Dark Avenger Inc. And I said, dude, you got to check out Zenescope, And he checked out Godstorm, and that's when Godstorm was coming out. And then eventually, we started reading all this stuff, and we really enjoyed it together as a group. And now they've just, Zenescope has just completely blown up. They have events like Ascension, and you got the Age of Darkness coming up, and you got the issue 100, and the company has grown leaps and bounds, and they've got Code Red, which is Red Riding Hood, and she turns into a werewolf, and it's just badass to see all these characters, all these myths, and all these fables, all these characters that were just originally introduced in a comic series about this professor that made you read this fairy tale book when a certain situation arose, and you get to see these characters. Now they come to life, and they're within this universe. I mean, it's just fantastic to see all these characters become heroes, and it's female driven heroes, which you don't get to see in a universe all that much. So it's very unique and very different. One of their most popular other series that I can recommend is Wonderland. If you guys have ever read Wonderland, or obviously know Alice in Wonderland, Wonderland series has a huge following, and it's super duper popular, and I just enjoyed it so much. And ever since Robin Hood, I look forward to the Grim Fairy Tale universe now. I jumped back on board. I started reading it digitally, got back on board. I know what's going on now. I know what's going to happen, and I don't know exactly what's going to happen in the future, but we know events that's coming, and it's just a great company and a wonderful, wonderful series to read. It's very entertaining, and it's very different. If you folks are looking for something different to read, check out Zenescope Entertainment. They have all kinds of different material. I can't preach it enough. If you're tired of the superheroes, or if you're tired of the zombies, if you're tired of that stuff, check out something new, something fresh, something different. Give them a chance. Don't let those covers, some of them can be quite sexy or explicit to certain people. Don't let those covers fool you. Inside that surface, inside that book, is a beautiful, wonderful story that takes you to a different universe that you can escape from your everyday life. So again, guys, that's how I started getting into Zenescope way back in 2008 when I started comic collecting again, and I wanted something different. I just went in back issue boxes, and I started with that first volume, and I fell in love ever since then, and I've been preaching it to a lot of people. It's hard to get people into new series, into new companies, but trust me when I say this, guys. I've been reviewing comics for going over 3 years now, and I will tell you that, honest to my heart, that this is a great company to follow. So guys, please, if you have any questions, any comments, anything about Zenescope Entertainment at all, If you want some advice, leave them in the comments below. Guys, I will help you out the best that I can. And guys, that's it. That's all I have for you today for Zenescope Entertainment. And as always, don't forget to check out comicrelated.com. Don't forget to check out our comicfrontline.com, our written page as well, where together we have all kinds of news articles, podcasts, and a whole lot more. So guys, until the next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off. Thanks for watching, fans. See you soon. Bye.